Hello, Bible readers. It is Friday, April 23rd. Today we're reading from Jeremiah chapters 15 through 18 and Hebrews chapter 4, verse 14 to chapter 6, verse 20. Prayer that does not work. That's what I promised you yesterday. What's especially daring in communal laments is the very open way the people challenge God, suggesting God's not quite up to the task, that the suffering of the people shows a failure on God's part. The only way to show the true power of God would be to deliver the people from their plight. That's the argument the people are making, that Jeremiah is presenting on their behalf. Yesterday I talked about how there's these Jeremiah's confessions, and so he laments what's going on among the people, kind of bringing the people's perspective to God in an effort to, in hopes of maybe persuading God, much like Moses did at times, or even Abraham did. This doesn't work. Calling on God to kind of prove God's self, that doesn't go down. So the next couple chapters after that confession can be summarized, woe is me. In chapter 16, we see Jeremiah's celibacy as a word of judgment. It's another example of how prophets are made to suffer. Prophets suffer in all kinds of ways. They're left out of a lot of normal social peace. They're kind of weird. In this case, because they say weird things, they stand for weird things. They're standing outside the mainstream, right, of how most people think and act. And so now Jeremiah is commanded to not get married or have kids. So another way a prophet suffers. In chapter 17 and 18, in each we read another confession, one of these Jeremiah's confessions, where we think Jeremiah may be mediating. I could say a lot more about each one of those confessions if we were studying Jeremiah. We'll just keep reading. Hebrews. Yesterday, Hebrews ended by saying God's word is still active. So today we read, hold fast. If God's word is still happening, if faith is still alive, then hold fast, draw near. Christ is merciful, so come on. That's where we are in this part of the letter of Hebrews. And as encouragement to come on, we've got this analogy that Christ is like a high priest. A perfect example, again, of an illustration that requires some work on our part. Like, what exactly would Hebrews be getting at to say he's a high priest? Once we get to chapter 5, verse 11 through 6:20, this is a section where we're being prepared for the tough stuff, the tough love stuff, if you will. First, we're called to maturity. I love these verses. For those who live on milk, being still an infant, are unskilled in the word of righteousness. Solid food is for the mature. They can distinguish good from evil. So grow up, he's saying. He's saying we have the ability to be weaned off of the milk that is just the easy stuff of, God's easy, and being a child of God is easy, to, okay, let's eat solid food and know that there are decisions to be made here, and there are difficult decisions to make. This is followed up with a stern warning, with hope, and the grounds for hope. The grounds, of course, for our hope is that Jesus is high priest. This whole analogy to Melchizedek that I've mentioned before too. So we'll talk more about that, because in chapter 7, it's about how Christ and Melchizedek are so much that it's a helpful illustration. So we'll see how it's helpful next time. I'm one with my God. My God is with us, all of us, at all times and in all places.